continuing series of webinars aimed at the publishing and media industry. My name is Brett Kierstead. I'm Vice President of Sales, and today's topic is when brands become publishers, the rise of content marketing. Before we get started, just remember logistically that on your navigation bar on the right-hand side for GoToMeeting, if you want to submit any questions along the way, we'll get to them at the end. Today's webinar is going to go a little bit longer than our 30 minutes because we have a special guest with us today, and we're kind of expanding our content. So we might run a little bit over, but we promise we'll keep on task for everyone. Again, if you have questions along the way, we do record the presentation, so the recording and materials will be available for you guys afterwards. Certainly you can take notes along the way, but we'll make sure that we make this available to you. So again, I'm the host today, and again, I'm Brett Kierstead. I'm Vice President of Sales for Knowledge Marketing, but I also have the pleasure of being joined by Rob O'Regan. So Rob O'Regan, as many of you know, is an industry thought leader, and he's joining us today. And Rob, I'll let you do the introductions and share your background.
Great. Thanks, Brett. As Brett said, my name is Rob O'Regan. I blog at emediavitals.com, which covers the publishing industry. It's a website that features a mix of original and aggregated content about media and content marketing. We also have a weekly newsletter that highlights the top posts that we're producing. The other half of my time is spent as a content marketing consultant for a variety of corporate clients. In previous lives, I was a beat reporter, or a copy editor, a news editor, an editor-in-chief for a variety of publications, pretty much up and down the editorial ladder.
Thank you, Robin. We're excited. When Rob and I were talking, you know, he's a guru, if you were, and I'm sure he hates that word, on the topic of content marketing. And so really what we're looking to do together for you guys is kind of marry together the idea of the emergence of content marketing, how it impacts publishers, and then we're going to share some success stories that we see among publishers on how they're working within these trends and succeeding, and how they're attacking the market. So you can see a list of some of the knowledge marketing clients that we work with. Again, we always like to show this so that everyone understands the perspective that we bring to these conversations. So without further ado, it's time to get started. So there's three topics that we presented to you guys today. Number one is we're going to talk to you a little bit about the rise of content marketing and what's happening and why. Number two, specifically for brands, how are they establishing their own initiatives and what are they doing? And then third, we'll sum it all up around strategies and opportunities and ideas for you to help capitalize on this trend. Okay, so let's start with the rise of content marketing. We're going to cover three things. First of all, we'll talk a little bit about the buzz around it. We'll make sure we're all clear on the meaning, and then we'll dive a little bit into the impact. So anybody who reads anywhere, I don't have to tell anybody that content marketing is a buzz. Anywhere you turn, if you type content marketing, it's almost becoming ubiquitous, but here's some kind of headlines on this that can show you really the buzz that's being created. You know, there's a lot of money flowing into this area in terms of technology, in terms of services, in terms of consulting, in terms of tools. So the more money that flows into these particular initiatives and areas, the more innovation and competition that you see. You know, if you talk to individual marketers at brands and corporations, they all are saying things like 44% say content marketing is a top priority. 59% are increasing their spending in content marketing. Content marketing is now taking up to 12% of their budgets. And conversely, you know, statistics in similar surveys show that there's a decrease in spending on traditional advertising. You know, I was on U.S. Airways flight, and in the middle of it, on their magazine, there was a little blurb on the right-hand side about chief marketing officers and their positions on how much money is being spent in this area. So, you know, we all know just by reading and keeping our ears open that this is an emerging area of content marketing for brands. And what we want to do today is explain exactly what that means and again, why it's something that you could take advantage of.
And that last bullet point there, Brett, is you know, that's kind of a warning flag to publishers as well, that some of the money that they've traditionally been seeing come through advertising is now being funneled over to content marketing, and that's kind of the crux of what we're going to be talking about today.
Yep, exactly. So I want to start with meaning because, content marketing is just like marketing services and 50 other terms that everybody throws around as if everybody knows what it means. And so for the purpose of this call, we want to make sure that you guys understand clearly, kind of what we're talking about and really a good way to think about it. So the Content Marketing Institute, and for any of you interested in this subject, I hope that you use that website. Joe Paluzzi, who runs that and that business, is an outstanding resource. And we're not shameful to not pull from other people's awesome ideas and share them with you. But here's the description, and it's a little wordy, but I'll read it to you. Content marketing is a marketing technique of creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content to attract and acquire a clearly defined audience with the objective of driving profitable customer action. Okay, the reason why I read that is that sounds awfully familiar to anybody that's ever been in publishing. I mean, the idea that you're creating and cultivating content aimed at a specific audience to get them to take action is the whole business model of publishing. So if that's always been around, why the change? The change is really based on the relationship between the brands themselves and their desired audience. So let's show you what we mean. So traditionally, a brand, let's just say an advertiser in your network or an exhibitor or what have you, has used the publisher or other purchased media to get messaging to a desired audience. The publisher is the originator and the author of the content, and the brand basically rides along with that content to get to the audience. Okay, and I think we all intuitively know this is the ad model. This is the business model that many have had. So let's show you an example. So let's take a brand, Oracle, and maybe they're a traditional sponsor, in this case, on Computer World, which is a publisher that has websites and content, and they sponsor a piece of content, and in return, they get leads, right? And the leads are the technical buyers of the audience that the publisher has. So Oracle has rode along top of the content provided by Computer World, maybe in just a hands-off way or a one-step removed way to get to that messaging. In this case, specifically through sponsorship of particular content. Okay? So what's happening, though, is the brands are sitting out there and saying, we want, or for whatever particular reason, which we'll get to, direct access to our desired audience. In other words, in that previous example, Oracle wants to get to the end user without necessarily using an intermediary for content. Okay? So if we think of it this way, here's Oracle again, and now they're creating their own content. So they have a website that has ERP information, again, not about the product, but about the industry. They've got a Facebook page that has, in this case, Oracle University, that has a significant subscriber and followership that is now educating and reaching a direct audience. So in this case, they're using content, whether it's training or educational or industry related, to position themselves directly with that end customer without riding along the top of the content of the publisher or the middle resource.
Right. So what that means is that the brands start asking themselves, do we really need the publishers as part of this equation? If we can create and publish our own content using the tools that are freely available out there, and we can do some audience development of our own, what's the role of the publisher there?
Exactly. So let's just draw some distinctions, because before you get discouraged, Rob and I are very bullish on what we can do as publishers here. But but our goal of this webinar is to educate you on why, because it's both a threat and an opportunity. So we certainly, while we want to point out the threats, we're also going to sprinkle in really the good news about it, which we think is a unique opportunity for you. So let's just be clear. So again, we're in the subject of content marketing, and again, if we think about it historically, an ad placement or an ad or an offer or display, or the placement of a product-related piece of information is designed to have a direct purchase. So again, if Oracle placed their ad or their sponsorship next to a piece of content generated by Computer World and they sponsored it, they're looking for an email address or some lead nurturing to then follow up on that person to quickly to provide them with maybe a direct action. They want to purchase something, see a demonstration, etc. Content marketing, as we know, is different. You know, content marketing as a strategy is really designed to create brand affiliation through education, through materials, through websites, through content, and then ultimately the goal is to lead to a purchase decision. So it's an indirect manner. So when we think about advertising and display, it's really not analogous to content marketing. It's different. You know, there are product placement issues that may occur there, but the gist of it is not we're making a one-time placement for the purpose of creating a direct purchase decision. So why that's important is I want to use the time to adjust our definition of content marketing. Okay? Because from your perspective, you would say, oh, we've been doing content marketing our whole lives. Why is this any different? But it's different when you think of it this way. So think of it this way. Content marketing is a marketing technique for a brand. In other words, one of your customers that uses non-advertising content to create an affiliation to foster a more direct relationship between the brand and the ultimate end customer. Okay? So again, it's a twist on it. It's them creating content that's non-advertising related, like it's not an ad about a product, for the goal of fostering that relationship with that ultimate end customer.
Right. It's really about building trust and credibility and authority with the target audience without trying to directly sell them something. That's the big distinction.
So why are they doing this? Well, the reason why it's happening, and you know, Rob can certainly expand on this, as he mentioned before, is that as content channels have exploded, social media, blogs, the web, Google, Twitter, Pinterest, blah, 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 and the tools available for the creation of content have expanded and come down in price. You see costs go down, and in the case of the brand, accessibility to the end customer go up. So this phenomenon is, I don't know if you want to say it, driving the ability for brands to get into this quickly and easier than ever before.
Yeah, the short answer to why they're doing it is because they can. You know, the tools are in place to allow any brand to become a publisher. I think that's been well established at this point.
So the question then becomes, if that's all the case, you're going to end up over time, whether it's an individual publisher or us as an industry, with one of two things. Either we or you are going to be disintermediated in the process, or we're going to get involved and we're going to increase our relevance and revenue. And I think, as I've said on many webinars on many different times, anytime an industry goes through this much change, there's going to be big winners and big losers. And the people that have the ability to adapt and change their business and be creative will win, and will win big. And we'll show you why the opportunity for you guys is extraordinary. The good news is, I guess another way to look at it is, you know, and Rob certainly has more content and editorial experience than I have, but you know, the idea that the wall between, you know, content and editorial within a publisher and their clients, you know, many, many years ago it may have been the Berlin Wall or the Great Wall of China, but in a lot of publishers today, that's starting to go away. You know, there's starting to be a more hand-in-glove relationship from a content creation and editorial side between the publication or the product and their advertisers and clients. Things like advertorial, sponsoring of white papers, you know, jointly doing webinars, featuring clients as bloggers or providers, you know, speakers at conferences and presenters. I mean, the idea that this, in every case, that there's this impassable wall between content creation and customer has really already been in process.
Yeah, and I think that you can justify that, Brett, by looking at it from the audience perspective. I think the kind of the old traditional model of publishers as kind of the sole filter and the sole arbiter of all things that are important to the audience that they're serving. That's going away. And I think if you look at it from the audience perspective, with the question of, is the content of value to them regardless of the source? Especially in B2B industries, brands often have a lot to add to the discussion, and they're an important part of the decision-making process when you're buying technology, you're buying other products and services. So I think, as opposed to just, oh, we're selling out, we're caving into the advertisers, it's more of like, okay, how can we bring all these sources of knowledge together, from the publisher, from the advertiser, from third parties that other consultants that are out there? How can we present that in an informative way to the audience to help educate them better, help inform them better about the way they're doing their jobs?
Excellent. And the market will weed out the people that abuse it.
Exactly.
If it's poorly done and it's shameless and it's not value, the switching cost for the reader is easy enough that they'll weed out people that don't execute on it.
That's exactly right.
All right, so let's turn our attention now. So now that you understand what's going on, we have a grounding and a foundation of what content marketing is. I'm going to let Rob kind of take over here and share some of his insights and research, a little bit about brands themselves.
Okay, so before we discuss, how brands are pushing into this area, it's a good reminder of to think about the business reasons why they're doing it. After all, it takes a lot of hard work and investment, so there must be a reason why they're investing more money in content marketing. Obviously, they want more access to clients. They want to control the message that they're delivering directly to clients as opposed to having it go through some third-party filter. They're looking for competitive advantage. They're looking to raise their profile in the eyes of their customers and their prospects. That they're a knowledgeable source. That they're a thought leader. That they know about what they're talking about. That they're experts in the field. The main reason is that content marketing helps brands engage directly with the customers and prospects. And if they're good at it, they can establish two-way relationships. And those two-way relationships can help them improve the feedback that they're getting for their products and their services. It can lead to more conversions and drive incremental revenue. And it just, in general, it just creates more buzz and momentum about the brand. It raises the profile of the brand in the eyes of the audience that you're targeting. We've established that brands are becoming publishers. Here are some supporting stats in addition to what Brett has already talked about. Companies invested an average of $1.7 million in branded content in 2012. And you can see by the slides here that they're continuing to invest even more in the previous 12 months and over the next 12 months. While these charts are specific to consumer marketers, the trends are similar for B2B. A recent Forrester study found that 59% of B2B marketers plan to increase their content marketing expenditures in 2014, and that B2B marketers overall expect to spend 12% of their total budgets on content marketing. So the momentum is definitely there, and the money is beginning to follow. The flip side of that is that while brands are investing more money in content marketing, in general, a lot of them lack a cohesive strategy to execute on it. They're learning a lot about content, and they still have a lot to learn about how to use it strategically. In addition to lacking the strategy, they also lack the resources in many cases. They lack the time to do this effectively. They lack, in many cases, the skills to do this effectively, especially in terms of creating quality content. So they end up outsourcing a lot of their projects. Most of all, they also lack confidence. Fewer than 1/3 of marketers in one study believe that they're effective at content marketing. So one of the major reasons why brands are struggling to be successful with these initiatives is they tend to underestimate the complexity and all the moving parts that are associated with good content marketing. Effective content marketing is more than just writing a blog post or tweeting or posting a photo to Facebook or Pinterest. There's a lot of other elements out there that publishers are intimately familiar with. It's about cross-platform distribution. It's about targeting the right audience and personalizing content for their needs. It's about lead generation and nurturing those leads. It's about promoting the content that you're creating on social media and delivering it to where the audience is hanging out, as opposed to expecting them to come to you to get it. And it's about list hygiene and management. It's about making sure that you have the right people in your database and you're targeting them in the right way. As Brett and I were preparing for the webinar, we wanted to find a good illustration of how a brand goes about good content marketing. So it made sense that we talk about what KM is doing. So Brett, why don't you take us through your own content strategy, your relationship with publishers, and the overall program components?
Sure, thanks. And I give full credit to our marketing department. So I'm telling you, I'm showing you the secret sauce of our own wonderful marketing team. So our content marketing goal, so again, think of it this way. We are a brand, right? And we use publishers. We advertise in Folio, we advertise in different publications. So we are upstream from advertisers in our particular, we are an upstream advertiser from publications and services within our industry. So when we always say brands are becoming publishers, that's our story too. And we have a content marketing goal here, and that is as follows, is that we want to be the leading voice and advocate for publishers and their resurgence through unlocking the value of their unified audience data. So we think that that's our content marketing. We want to be a voice and advocate for that change, and that's the goal that we energize around. And so to show you our approach to this, you're in one right now. You know, this is a webinar that is trying to educate and bring in folks like Rob that are experts on the industry to provide you guys with insight and trends and analysis and associate this content, this unique content, with our brand. And again, we're using Rob and we're using our own marketing efforts to get into this. So we're creating and publishing content. We're distributing through and in cooperation with publishers. We use our content to help our clients sell, and we look at data and things like that to determine relevance of topics. So again, if you just, if you place yourself in, if you think about us here as one of your customers, hopefully this will paint a picture of the kinds of ideas that you can come up with to create value. So if you think about these things, there's organizations out there, publishers, that have different products like ABM and SIA and Folio and niche media, and we run ads and we place marketing efforts into those particular organizations. We also then have a presence which kind of increases a little bit of our content participation that establishes our presence, particularly at these events. But then the last piece is that we provide content. We are content providers into these events. So we cooperate with these various different organizations to speak about topics that are relevant to them. We speak about data decision making. We have our customers like Meister Media or North Star Travel Media sponsored in and join us and speaking and educating in these particular events. So again, our content becomes in cooperation with these mediums, with these publishers, to allow us to both spend money with them on the ad side, but also get visibility to advance our own content messaging. Like Rob said before, we create our own website, we have educational materials, we have client testimonials, we have webinars that we do, we create white papers, really at a design and have an idea to work not only on our own content creation, but also in cooperation with our clients. So our publishing clients sometimes can help us not only get access to it, but help with the creation of content, with ideas, and collaboration on how the message gets out that, again, as Rob stated before, is beneficial to you as potential customers of ours as well as industry professionals. Our website has the content aggregated, and so, again, we really are designed and focused on getting all this organization together and visible. Again, with the purpose of advancing us as a thought leader in this space in conjunction with our own efforts as well as with our publishing clients. So that's our strategy, and thank you for being in the middle of it. We appreciate it. So Rob, you want to kind of summarize that section? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. So what do we know so far? We know that brands are investing more heavily in content marketing. We know that a lot of them are not very good at it and that it's a complex process. We also know that publishers have an opportunity to leverage their skills in the areas where brands are the weakest. So the main thing to think about going forward is if you can't beat them, then join them.
Okay, so now let's talk about your way forward. So a lot of that stuff, some of you know, it may be intuitive. You might be like, yep, I get it, I understand that. So what do we do from here? Okay, so how do we execute? So again, the reality statement, your clients are going deep into it with or without you, so it might as well be you. Rob wrote an article about this a few months ago. Publishers can either fill a void or get left out in the cold. So we have two-part process. Okay, there's a two-part process that you need to execute on in order to get yourself into this market. The first one is to get your own house in order, and the second one is to attack the market smartly. So I'm going to let Rob get you started on the process number one, which is getting your house in order.
Yeah, you know, as we've been talking about, there's a real opportunity here for publishers to expand their marketing services with new types of products, everything from content development to design to distribution and promotion. The thing that a lot of publishers overlook is they spend so much time and effort with the quality of their publication websites that they forget about their corporate website. So as you're getting into the marketing services business, it's really important to get your own house in order before you go out to clients with a pitch about how great your marketing services are. It begins by rethinking the corporate website. You want to be lighter on PR and heavier on education and information. That's the way to showcase your knowledge of the industry you serve, as well as your own publishing expertise. If you have blogs on your corporate site, which I highly recommend, you want them to be written by people. You want them to have real bylines. You want to showcase your own internal experts and their knowledge of the industry. But it's also important to keep in mind that you're not the only experts out there. Show that you care about the clients, about the customers that you're going after by curating the best third-party content that's relevant to them and the industry that you cover. Important, too, to think about these are all messages that you can pass along to your clients as well to improve their own content marketing efforts. Next, we'll get into a few examples of how publishers that I've found that are doing a good job showcasing their own content marketing skills. UBM Tech's Create Your Next Customer is a microsite that they've developed. Features news and commentary about technology marketing from UBM marketers as well as third-party sources. It features a variety of authors from the UBM side, everyone from product marketers to vice presidents, which really underscores their breadth of knowledge about the technology industry. The next one's Hanley Wood. They offer a blog called Content is Marketing for marketers in the construction industry, which is the industry that they cover. They pull in contributors from all over their organization. They recruit editors, salespeople, audience development managers, webmasters, others from the organization to write about their specific areas of expertise. So it really gives a lot of breadth and depth to the knowledge that they can share about creating good content and the value of good content and the value of developing an audience and the value of lead generation and things like that. And then the third example is IDG. They've created the Knowledge Hub. It's a separately branded site that offers a broad collection of news and research and insights that are targeted at technology marketers. The Knowledge Hub features it's a whole bunch of aggregated and curated content in addition to the IDG-specific content that they have on there. They have third-party blogs and research reports and infographics and videos. All this stuff spans 6 categories, everything from social media to lead generation. Not coincidentally, those are the categories that align with the service lines that IDG's Strategic Marketing Services Group offered. So everything's tied into, hey, by the way, we know a lot about social media marketing. We also have a service line along those lines. So it fits in very well there with their business model.
So yeah, so I think to summarize, the way you kind of explain it too is that, you know, your own website is your own showcase that you're going to reference back to your own capabilities to go above and beyond just, you know, ads and products, right? That you have intelligence that manifests itself in a generic way as opposed to it's only really designed for the purposes of selling more ads and more magazines or more websites. Is that
it's about eating your own dog food. If you can present a great face to the customer in terms of your own website as being a great content marketer, that's gonna convince them that you have the skills that they need to help them improve in their efforts.
Excellent. So then, like we said, step two, and again, we don't want to minimize the first one, which is really, do you present yourself as competent in this particular area? Because again, it may not be something that your clients recognize you as. They might see you as an ad channel or a print magazine or an e-product or event company, and they don't necessarily think of you as a complementary service to their own content marketing initiatives. And so you really want to demonstrate your own competence first, and then you have the raw materials and assets to go in and attack the market. And when we look at our clients and we look at what they're doing, there's really 3 different strategies. And so hopefully you'll take these away when you think, what do I do from here? How do I go get started? Once I've got my house in order, what do I do? The first one is understanding the ideal prospect. Number 2 is making sure you clearly assess and understand the entry costs. And number 3 is understand and leverage the strengths that are out there. So let's talk about the ideal prospect. I mean, you know, there's not a perfect profile, but odds are, if you think about your clients, there's certain characteristics of them that make sense. Again, if Oracle is a client, I'm pretty sure that if you call them up, they've got a gazillion dollars and a gazillion marketers that are out there cultivating and growing and fortifying their own direct marketing. You know, for you to be able to go in and say, we're going to run and help support you in your content marketing efforts, probably not the greatest prospect. You never know, but we also have to find pockets of areas where we can have some success. So what our clients are trying to do is really kind of capturize or categorize their potential client base for these additional incremental content marketing support services using some of the following attributes. First of all, you want a solid brand to start with. The reason why is that you're typically not in the branding business. Brand creation is a very complicated business. A lot of agencies dominate that, a lot of corporate marketing people. You really want to try and leverage some of the existing brand messaging that they have. They're probably already a good customer because, again, if you're going to be launching some new services, you really want to have a good working relationship with them. The second thing is that your customer probably lacks marketing resources. Again, if they've got 50 unpaid staff professional marketers, they're probably not looking externally for help to help them through even as they grow into this new area. They probably have a weak agency relationship. Again, if a lot of your brands buy all through media and they have a through agency and they have a powerful agency, there's at least a high likelihood that the agency will see you as a potential competitive threat to them. You know, Rob, we talked a little bit about how there's no way around that, and you have to know, and there's a conflict there that's always going to exist, especially as you creep into their territory and the agency potentially creeps into yours. You also probably want to find somebody in a growth mode. In other words, they're looking to expand their marketing efforts. They're looking to reach the market. They're looking to get new messaging out, and also potentially lack visibility with the end customer. In other words, if they already have an incredible relationship with their end customers through whatever initiative, it's probably not somebody you want to go after. So we found that some good ideal prospects for you to think about among your base are associations, potentially distributor sales models. So like in agriculture, a lot of those ag providers, let's say Cargill, sells through a distributor network and really doesn't sell direct to farmers per se. Well, over time, they still don't want to rely exclusively on that middle layer distributor to provide all their marketing and messaging out to the end farmer. So they may want to cultivate a relationship that you can help them with, because if you're an ag publisher and you have a farmer database, you can provide them direct access as a delivery mechanism for content into that channel. And then lastly, small to medium-sized businesses are another ideal prospect. Again, they may lack the resources, but they're in a growth mode. So, for example, small businesses. I mean, if you look at the statistics on them, and if I were you, I'd be looking at my base of high-growth small businesses and medium businesses that are advertising with you and see if they're in this mode, because statistically speaking, 48% of them, according to the study, are increasing the amount of content marketing spending. You know, a lot of them are using both in-house and outsourced resources for content creation. And again, as Rob stated before, a lot of them are not satisfied with how well it's going. So again, you have a growth mode, people willing to spend money, lack resources, good market, not happy with what they're doing. That's a pretty good place to start. The second thing to remind yourself to consider both on the buyer side as well as on your side is, as Rob talked about before, cost of entry. So again, if I'm a small to medium business, let's keep that example going, I'm probably thinking, oh, you know, I'll hire some hotshot expert, write some content, or maybe a marketing person. I'll start a blog, or I'll start my Facebook page, and I'll have this wonderful new direct relationship with my clients. And that's not horrible, and that's a good starting point. But to do content marketing effectively, there's a lot more to it. Yes, there's content creation, but there's also curation. You know, you have to continue to evolve the content. It's not put out a blog post and that's it. There's tools that are necessary. Yes, publishing tools are becoming ubiquitous or more readily available, but someone still has to pay for them, manage them, support them, train on them, and understand them. You know, they have to have distribution channels. What access do people have? It's great that a brand has access to social media, but let's say in agriculture, that might be 5% of the farmers out there. So the audience database that you have, how are they going to build it? Are they going to license it and spend money on it? And how are they going to keep it current? You know, what happens about performance tracking? Who's going to watch over the performance of this content marketing efforts? You know, that's a big cost, and you guys as publishers have always done that. You've been held to that standard before. Most corporate brands are not great direct marketers, and you guys are. You guys have data management, you have lead nurturing, you have content placement. These are all big costs to entry. And if I was a publisher and I was presenting a program to one of my small to medium businesses, I would certainly make clear to them, here's what you need to do to be effective, and here's some costs typically associated with those initiatives. Okay? And again, if you keep going on that and you think about the core strengths, if you think about the three parties in this equation, the customer, your agency, and you, the publisher, each one of them has a core strength. You know, the customer has products and advertising and customers of themselves. An agency, a legacy agency, is typically good at creative, they're experienced in branding, they know how to do media buying, and maybe they create some light content. But you guys have such assets to bring to this equation that it really trumps them all. You know, you have big amount of audience data. You've got, in many cases, years and years and millions of end users and subscribers and transactions and data about your audience that no one else can just get. You're obviously known for the best ability to create rich content and do research on subjects because that's the nature of your editorial experience. You know, today's publisher is a diverse media outlet with online and offline and all of these various different ways to get content out there. You also have measurement tools, and then you have a nurturing methodology in many cases. So again, content marketing, the simpler that someone thinks it is, you know, the less likely you'll have a place. But your education process, like you saw at Hanley Wood and some of these other areas, to demonstrate the sophistication of what it takes to be successful, makes this an area that would play in your favor.
Right, and being successful over the long term, I think a lot of marketers, you know, they get excited when they're making that initial investment in content development, but they don't realize how hard it is to sustain that, to do it over the long term. Content marketing is not a one-off program by any means, and publishers can really help in terms of just creating that engine, creating that process that allows them to continually produce relevant quality content on a consistent basis.
Yeah, the greatest one I always hear, and many of you probably hear it, is the amount of money that has been spent on marketing automation. And what happens, as you guys know, is brands buy Marketo and these great tools that are excellent, and then they get them and they realize, holy cow, we have so much content we have to create in a sequential manner to make this effective that they end up using it for like 1/10 of its capability. So, as Rob said, one of the traps that these guys run into is they hit the shiny objects, wow, we're in content marketing and we're going to write this cool stuff and buy this cool marketing automation, and then reality strikes them that, as you guys know, running an operation from a content marketing perspective is a lot harder than it is than just creating cool stuff. Okay, so to get even more precise, you're leaving here and you're going to think about, what do I do? And I'm going to show you a relevant case study, and hopefully you can think about how could you apply this. So among your customers, and this is an example among one of our customers, there was a small engineering design firm that was launching a consulting service 6 months out, right? And so traditionally, the advertiser or the publisher would say, oh, advertise in our magazine or something, traditional ad, or maybe we'll let you sponsor a piece of content. Well, the strategy instead was to try and work more closely with this firm to try and come up with a content marketing strategy for them, supported and managed by the publisher. So again, they were a client already today. This engineering firm already had a small list of construction managers, so that was kind of the market that they were looking to go after, but they had some basic profile data only. The firm had limited direct marketing experience, but like most brands, they have a social media presence, and they were looking to establish thought leadership positioning around the issue of safety in construction design. So they were an engineering firm that wanted to establish themselves as a thought leader in how safety and important issues in this area would become, again, as the foundation for the consulting service that they had planning. So I bet you that if you think about your own client base, and those of you who talk to clients would recognize a similar type scenario. So the first thing that the client did, our client, from a publisher perspective, is to go in and look at their audience. So again, this firm had a small number of people, maybe a few hundred or a few thousand people in a particular vertical, but the publisher, because of all their experience, had significantly bigger universe. So again, they looked at people in construction management and found thousands of people. They looked at people in their database that have read articles about the topic of design and engineering and find many, many people. They targeted in on specific vertical markets where people do design, whether on certain types of properties, and they came up with this really strong, robust, targeted universe of about 35,000 potential people that would be a great fit for content marketing for this firm. Then they sat down and they looked at their own competence. So again, the competence of the publisher. Are they good at blog posts? Are they good at creating emails? Have they never done video? Are they infographics type people? They looked at all the various different mechanisms for content delivery based on their own strengths and worked with the client to say, hey, here's the content marketing channels that we want to use, and we already know the subject that they want, we know the audience that they want, we know the topics that they want, and now we're going to assess the channels. So what they created was a program called the 6x6 campaign. So you think about this was a 6-month campaign. This was a 6-month initiative to get them going to establish a content marketing presence that launched them into this consulting model. And so they came up with 6 themes. They wanted, the publisher said to the engineering firm, we're going to create content that's going to do the following in this universe of 35,000 people. We're going to educate them. We're going to provide them with research. We're going to provoke new ideas. We're going to inform them of things that are happening. We're going to expand the way that they think about this issue, and we're going to serve them with information and services. So this 6 months, 6 different ideas created this integrated campaign that was a real powerhouse to launch a small firm into the world of content marketing and establish a voice within the vertical that they were going after. So again, the program was they were starting with the assets, as we said before, of this small engineering firm that already had a brand name and messaging. The publisher went back and found 35,000 people using demographic, behavioral, and contextual data about their audience so that they knew they had a receptive audience. They did research, the publisher, and developed this content bank because, again, as Rob said, you can't just deliver a piece of content. If you're going to run content management or content marketing over an extended period of time, you can't create everything in real time. Then they started delivering. They used multiple media. They executed across different programs. And one of the things that they ended up doing was building a niche portal. So this small little engineering firm, which had limited assets, had this now educational portal on the issue of design safety that they could draw in people to consume their content and start to establish thought leadership in that area. And the interesting thing is, and I think we've talked about this before, publishers have to realize in this equation they're going to create content that is going to be hosted and used primarily by someone else. Rob, you want to talk about that as a paradigm shift. for the way the industry's been.
Yeah, that's a tough concept for some publishers to get their arms around. That we're creating content that's not going to live on our websites, but that's speaks to the extent of the opportunity too. Is that the more you broaden that beyond just your publication websites as a source of content, as a destination site for content, the more you can help the brands that you're serving with their own content marketing and getting that content out there to where their customers are, as opposed to where you want them to go.
Yes. And then the last thing that they're doing is they establish this ongoing management and cultivation of the actual audience list. And so the net result of the program was a big success. As we said before, not only did they protect their existing revenue, right? That company is still advertising with them. The publisher is still receiving ad revenue from the engineering firm, but now they've expanded the value of that client by over 40%. They helped this client launch content marketing and direct-to-end customer messaging, and for themselves, they created this recurring revenue stream because they're hosting and managing data and providing marketing services. They're hosting the portal and they're sustaining it. And so instead of just being this, one-and-done provider, they created this, this campaign, this program, this content marketing program that they're sustaining for the client, but they're getting the revenue and the recurring for them as well. So, it's really a clever way that people are using all the assets that you have to stick their nose into the content marketing equation that your clients are getting into in a smart and effective way. So you want to summarize for us, Rob?
Yeah, 4 main points here I think that we've covered today. We know that brands are getting into content marketing in a big way. The desire is the main objective is to enhance their direct affiliations with end customers. We feel that publishers are best equipped to help them succeed in this because they have the skill set and the knowledge and the expertise required to create a good content marketing program that spans over time as opposed to just being a one-off. In order to succeed, the first thing you need to do is get your house in order. Find a way to showcase your expertise as a content marketer on your own corporate site. And then the last piece is create that plan of attack that you described today, Brett, to win clients and ultimately grow your revenues, which is why we're all in this game to begin with.
So thanks, everybody. We have a couple questions. We'll just focus on one. We could try to cover one before, but the question, which was interesting, came about the scalability of this model from a resource standpoint. With the case study that we gave, we focused on a small business, but that was no small task. And so the question is, and maybe Rob, you can talk a little bit about it before or as well, is scalability. Can publishers, what can publishers pull off? Or how would you recommend them either staffing to or planning to in support of these particular initiatives?
Yeah, I think a good model is you start with if you have a custom publishing unit in place now, a small team. You can start with that core. You can build off that. You can outsource a lot of the content development piece. There's a lot of good freelance journalists out there that can help with the content development piece. As long as you have a good team of project managers and a sales team. Sometimes you can pull it from the regular sales team. Sometimes you want to dedicate some resources to it. But the good thing about this is that the way these projects are structured is that you can fund them as you go along. So you shouldn't be operating any of these things at a loss. You get one client, you fund it, you use that to fund the next project. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this without a huge upfront investment. I think it can become pretty self-sustaining over time.
Yeah, and I think my other suggestion would be kind of like we said before is be honest about your own strengths and weaknesses. Go after people that you think are a good fit for you, that you can execute upon, especially in the beginning,
yep.
Because you certainly want to start off with something that you can handle. Again, I would go to Oracle and say, hey, we want to take over all of your content marketing if I was a small publisher in the technology space. So
right,
I think
and to that point, Brett, it's one of the things you talked about earlier with kind of the agency-publisher relationship. There's an opportunity to partner with agencies in the areas that you're not highly skilled in. So maybe they have some skills that they bring to the table, and that complement your own skills well. So partnering with some of those agencies instead of directly competing against them can give you some of that additional scale that you might not otherwise have.
Yes, and there's one more quick question. I know people were over our time, but for those of you who want to stick around, we'll answer another good question. One of them was, what was the best way to measure success once you've established yourself as a partner? And, I think obviously, we want to go beyond the obvious linear relationship of more revenue, better customer satisfaction. But because I do think that typically when people are launching these initiatives and they're doing these things, they're presenting them a little bit as an adjunct to the whole business relationship. I mean, I don't see publishers, at least my experience, especially among our clients, they're really trying to, yes, grow revenue, but they're trying to enhance the overall portfolio of products and services and things that they can offer. The revenue model transformation that's going on right now, people are starting to see, they want to increase their services model, that kind of recurring business. And some of the products that we talked about today lend themselves to more of a recurring service business as opposed to a one-time placement. I mean, if you're going to host and manage and build and maintain a content portal for a client in a specific vertical, or you're going to manage an association registration list and recruitment process through content education, that's something that your client is going to constantly have to pay you for. So the revenue mix is really going to convert itself from being ad-centric or one-time placement into something that's more recurring and more stable. So I don't know that, financial metrics are big, customer penetration on the product, revenue mix, those are all, I guess, kind of maybe more qualitative measurements, or excuse me, more quantitative measurements, that I would see for a particular initiative. Rob, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, I think you summed it up nicely.
So everybody, thank you so much. The resources that we suggest, we create our own, but we're also not shameless about borrowing. If you guys have more interest, the Content Marketing Institute is great. It's a good place for sources. Rob's blog, of course, he writes on this and other subjects, and we at Knowledge Marketing try to as well. We love your feedback. Certainly, if there's any questions, keep them coming. We'd love to connect with you on social media as well. And we will send out, again, a link to download the recording if you're interested. And we really appreciate everyone's time. Rob, thanks so much to you. And we'll see you guys all out and about, maybe at ABM or maybe at some of the other industry events that are up and coming. So take care. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.